past, patiently waiting, I'm passionately smashing every expectation, every action's an act of creation. I'm laughing in the face of casualties of sorrow.
Well, here I am walking down Times Square, and I got to see a couple of Broadway shows over the last couple days. And it's interesting because they seem to have a common theme to me. And the common theme that seems to stick out so much is despair. And really, it's despair that's caused by a breakup in the family. So,
in the Broadway show Once on This Island, I witnessed the story of a young orphan girl by the name of Timoon. She has two beautiful, loving, adoptive parents, but they don't seem to be enough for her. She has this yearning for something more. Guided by the mighty island gods, she goes on an adventure to find a man that can save her from her poverty and fill the loneliness in her heart. It's a beautiful modern-day storytelling of Romeo and Juliet crossed with The Little Mermaid. The story illustrates the reality and the yearning that we all have to overcome difficulties in our lives and have someone to save us. In one of the opening songs, we hear the quote of her adoptive mother and father singing, "I won't be there to guide your way, to braid your hair or dry your tears, as we have done all these years." Parents, too, realize that sometimes they're not enough for their children. Ultimately, the best thing a parent can ever do for us is show us the way to God. The New York Times describes it as ravishing. What a delight it is to enter the world of Once on This Island.
the second one that I saw was Dear Evan Hansen. Dear Evan Hansen is actually one of the most popular Broadway shows. And what's so interesting about that one is it also begins with a child who has lost his father when he was young, when he was 7 years old. And his entire life, he finds himself having a void.
Evan Hansen is about a high school boy who is trying to fit in, only to find that his way of fitting in is not what he expected. One of his classmates, Connor Murphy, who struggles with depression and addiction, commits suicide, and Evan is left to pick up the pieces. In one of the most powerful songs in the play, So Big, So Small, Evan's mother sings to him about how difficult it has been for her to see her son grow up without a father. The song describes the scene of his father driving away in the U-Haul truck and his mother comforting him. That night I tucked you into bed. I will never forget how you sat up and said, "Is there another truck coming to our driveway? A truck that will take Mommy away?" And the house felt so big, and I felt so small. Evan finds himself taking refuge in Connor Murphy's family, as the family he'd always wanted, only to discover that try as he might, he cannot replace their son, and they can't replace his family. Thankfully, the show ends with redemption, but it does show the sad state that so many of our youth grow up in. Rolling Stone describes it as a game changer that hits you like a shot in the heart, and I have to say that it did bring me to tears. It was a beautiful and brilliant story of how we are all seeking to be loved.
Finally, Hamilton is the #1 Broadway show about one of our often forgotten founding fathers, Alexander Hamilton. He too grew up without a father, and his mother died a few years after he left. Their first song opens up with in-your-face rap lyrics. How does a bastard orphan, son of a whore, and a Scotsman, dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean, by Providence, impoverished and squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar? The musical begins with the company summarizing Hamilton's early life as an orphan from the Caribbean. After arriving in New York City in 1776, Hamilton meets Aaron Burr. The show then, right off the bat, reveals the ending, which is Hamilton's pitiful death, shot by Aaron Burr in a heated duel. The play reveals the triumph and fall of Alexander Hamilton, as well as his contribution as one of the key founding fathers of America. We see that even though he triumphs politically, his personal life is much more like that of the prodigal son. He too is trying to fill a void. The show finishes with the song, Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story, sung by the remaining founding fathers. George Washington and the company sing, Let me tell you what I wish I'd known when I was young and dreamed of glory. You have no control. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story? I'll give him this, his financial system is a work of genius. I couldn't undo it if I tried, and I tried. He took our country from bankruptcy to prosperity. I hate to admit it, but he doesn't get enough credit for all the credit he gave us. Every other founding father's story gets told. Every other founding father gets to grow old. But when you're gone, who remembers your name? Who keeps your flame? Who tells your story?
One of the things that is so evident and apparent is that we all have this void that only God can seem to fulfill.
As these stories are told to us in Broadway's theaters, we see a glimpse into the heart of the American people, that there is indeed a poverty of spirit, a poverty of love, a poverty of loneliness, a poverty caused so often by the breakup of the family, and a poverty of experiencing God's love, which no one else and nothing else can fill.